So this is the one thing that most men are missing, even if they're successful. Success to me used to look like metrics in terms of money, in terms of popularity, status. Like, success to me wasn't really about, having a family. It wasn't about having real, genuine relationships with people. And it wasn't about feeling fulfilled. It was about money, and it was about status. It was about how many hours I could do in the gym and look busy, how much validation I could get from people for how I looked. How much could I impress people that I didn't even really like. And that was what success looked like for me back then. But to most men, success isn't a thing that they really think about. It's just something that they allow other people to define for them. They don't really define it themselves. So the most men's success is about money, it's about material things, about abundance of things that they don't really need. And that's important. Like, there are things that you think you need, but you don't really need them at all. And they need it to impress people that they don't even know or they don't even like because of Instagram, because of Facebook and TikTok and all the rest of it. It's just all these platforms that are used in order to create comparison between people and almost create a race to the bottom when it comes to success and it comes to happiness. I believe social media creates a race to the bottom. And what I mean by that is all the money that's accumulated from people's businesses, from their career, all their assets, whatever it may be, they spend it or use them to impress people rather than actually achieve stability and achieve real value in their life, to feel comfortable in their everyday life. It's almost to fill a void. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, is about how success is defined by you, but that is only if you take the choice to define it yourself. So a lot of people allow other people to define success for them. So this may be people that they watch on social media, maybe their parents, their environment as well. So what is success actually curated by? It's curated by the environment that you grew up in, the people that you surround yourself with, and the people that you watch. So it isn't really a choice that you've made. It's almost instilled into you, your vision of success. It's not even yours, it's somebody else's. And that's an important thing to remember, that most of the time when we set our values and we set our direction in life, and when we set our definition for success, it's not ours, it's somebody else's. And that is the case because of where you've grew up, your parents, the people you've surrounded yourself with your whole life, and the people you surround yourself with now. And not only that, now it's the people that you watch and consume the most on Instagram, on TikTok, on social media. The people that you consume the most will have a massive influence on your definition of success and happiness, or what you think happiness is, at least. When it comes to the environment, for me growing up, success, a lot of it was about popularity. I grew up in a very rough area. There was a lot of crime. There was a lot of people selling drugs. I knew a lot of people that sold drugs. I am well aware of the environment that I was surrounded by, and I was well aware at the time of the environment that I was surrounded by. And success for those guys was about how much drugs they could sell, how much drugs they could take on the weekend, how long they could stay up and party, how much crime they could get into, who can fight the most, who can handle themselves. Being feared was success to people in my environment. Being feared. Not being loved, being feared. Because being loved was uncomfortable and it wasn't natural, which is very sad but very true. Being loved in the environment that I grew up in was not a natural thing. It was very uncomfortable. It was almost alien. It was all about how much can you be feared. And that fear was curated by how much you could fight, how mad you could be, how much shit you could get yourself into, how much drugs you could sell, how much crime you could commit. That was your way of establishing fear so that you felt safe. Because safety is key for you to feel stable and mentally well. And the only way that you thought growing up in my environment in West Belfast and many other deprived areas is safety is in fear, not in love. So it's important that you learn how to fight, you learn how to handle yourself, you learn how to stomach crime and stomach doing really bad things so that you can be feared and you can be looked at as someone not to be fucked with, because that creates a sense of safety for you. But that is not a life to live. That doesn't bring happiness at all. And that is why I think in deprived areas suicide rates are very high among men. But back onto the topic of success. So what this all means is that men have a visualization of what success looks like. Getting the body that they want, getting all the women, getting all the money, getting the car that they want. But they don't feel success. They may have achieved those things, but they feel unfulfilled because they think the version of success that they visualize will fill a void or heal a wound that they have inside of them. So what does that mean? You may have grew up feeling neglected, feeling abandoned, or feeling rejected. You may not have fitted in your school. You may not have got the love that you should have got from your parents. You may have grew up with toxic parents. You may have grew up in a single parent household. And that leaves a void, a wound. And in order to heal that wound or fill that void, you think external things will do it for you. Therefore, money, cars, women, money, all these things that are external and expendable, they become your safety and they become your plaster for that wound. And you think and you visualize that if you achieve those things, that all of a sudden you'll no longer feel neglected, you'll no longer feel insecure, your depression will be cured, your anxiety will be cured. You think all that'll go away just because you achieve those external things, like money, a house, car, whatever it may be, And then when you get there, you don't feel it. You don't feel successful. And I know this from talking to many people who've reached the top, multi-millionaires who've achieved amazing things, but are still not happy because they still haven't filled that void. They still haven't healed that wound. Because healing a wound from trauma, from childhood is a difficult, it's a long road. It's an uncomfortable place to be for a man. It's not easy at all. So success is a feeling. It's not a destination for me. So do I feel regulated? Do I feel safe? Do I feel happy? Do I feel stimulated around the people that I surround myself with? Do I have good conversations every day? Do I keep my word? And do I stick to my values? And that can be simple things like getting up in the morning and going for a walk, going to the gym when you're supposed to go to the gym, spending time with your partner when you're supposed to spend time with them, not talking shit about people when you're in a circle of strangers, not bitching, not complaining, not being cynical and seeing the world as a doom and gloom place, not eating things that you're not supposed to eat that don't make you feel good, getting into shape, getting fit. Keep your word to yourself. other ways, if you achieve those external things like money and cars and fame, whatever it may be, you will feel hollow because you don't keep your word to yourself. So success to me is a feeling. It's not a destination. It's not somewhere that you get to in your life. It's a long journey. It's a journey that just continues going on and on, and the goalpost just moves further and further away. But you have to stop and think, do I feel successful today? Not have I achieved success? Because there's a difference. You know, you may achieve success when it comes to your career, when it comes to money and all the rest of it, but do you really feel that internally? And that's something that you can't outwork. That's something that you can't buy. It's something that you can't achieve externally. It's just not, it's not a physical object. It's an internal thing. For most men, I think if you were never given praise as a child, you may seek validation from everyone, and then you become a people pleaser. Therefore, your vision of success is everyone liking you. So that's one that is a big one. A lot of people do things because they think it'll make people like them. They don't do it because they like doing it. So for example, I know a lot of coaches, PTs, who PT and coach for the simple fact that they think it'll get them validation and the people will like them more for doing it. And what happens there is you then become a people pleaser. You try to be everyone's cup of tea, and you're just not. We're not built that way. We're not born to be liked by everyone. It's just not. I don't believe that. I don't believe you should be everyone's cup of tea. It's like Malcolm X said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So I think that's very important to remember, is that if you're doing something in your life right now and it's really hard, you're working hard, you're grafting your balls off, what do you think? Are you doing it because you like it? Or are you doing it because you think people will like you for doing it? And that's an important question that you need to ask yourself. And is what you're doing aligned with a direction that you want to take your life? And if so, why is that the direction that you want to take your life? And what are your core values? Do you value your time? Do you value your family? Do you value being in nature? Do you value having more time to spend away on holiday with family, with your daughter, with your son, whatever it may be? Do you value those things? And is what you're doing aligned with that? Because for me, it used to be, my value was being busy. So I constantly filled my diary with shit that I didn't need to do. My value before was also look successful. How do you look successful? Look busy. Post every single achievement. Aim high and do it only because people will think he is really successful when you achieve it. That is not success. That's not a good value to have, because what that leads to is hollowness, emptiness, and just, you think it's going to fill a void. You think it's going to heal something inside of you, like an insecurity or a low confidence issue, and it just doesn't. If anything, it makes it worse, because you're still like that. And then what would happen to me anyway, is you discover that fuck, this still isn't working. It's still not making me feel good about myself. So then you start numbing yourself. You start drinking, you start taking drugs, partying, and you end up in a far worse place than you even started out, because you still haven't recognized the key element of the problem. Because it's easier to try and outwork it than to face it. It's easier to try and physical it out than internally reflect on it. For me, success can be just having enough money to feed your family, having food in the fridge, having a steady income, more time at home, less working, being strong, having confidence in your capabilities, and having a body that you can be proud of. You should be in shape, and you should have a body that you're proud of. And if you don't, you shouldn't beat yourself up, but you should start taking direction towards that. But the reason a lot of men feel empty, even when they've achieved all the goals that they aim for, is for two reasons. One, they have a poor relationship with themselves, their environment, and the people around them. So I want you to listen to that again. So a lot of men feel empty, even when they achieve their goals, because they have a poor relationship with themselves. They don't like themselves internally. And that could be because of a childhood trauma. That could be because of values that have been instilled in them from peers or from parents, whatever it may be. They don't have a good relationship with their environment. They feel out of alignment with the people around them. They feel like they don't fit in. So therefore they put on a persona or behave a certain way just to fit in. So when they achieve the goal that they set, for example, say you don't like playing football, but you join a football team because your dad and your mates play football. So then you become really good at football, but every cup you win, you feel hollow, you feel empty, because you don't even like playing football. Does that make sense? You're doing something for other people, you're not doing it for yourself. You may achieve great things, but you never liked it. And the other thing is they don't have a good relationship with the people around them, which is also environment. The second reason why they feel empty when they achieve success is because they're trying to fill a void internally through external achievement. So they haven't faced their grief, their anger, their sadness, their childhood trauma, or just their traumas in general. The wounds that they have, because they ignore the mental side of the three pillars. So the way I work it is I have three pillars. Pillar one is the physical, pillar two is the mental, pillar three is relationships. Most men try to out-physical the mental side of it because it's easier to try and outwork and actively fix something for a man than to sit, reflect, talk, and really ask hard questions. For example, why do I behave that way? Why do I react that way? Why am I low confident? Why do I hate myself? Why is nothing ever good enough? Why do I feel like no matter how busy I am, I'm never doing enough? Those questions are very difficult fucking questions to ask yourself as a man, but you need to ask them and you need to sit and reflect on it. And you may not like the answers, but I can promise you if you make very, very hard decisions by asking very, very difficult questions, you will feel like a weight has been lifted clean off your shoulders. Only when you do that, in my opinion, will you be able to define your actual definition of success. Because until you do that, you will be basing your definition of success based off of trauma, off of internal wounds, off of other people's vision of success, off of your peers, off of your parents, off of your environment. You are basing your definition of success based off all these factors. So until you can sit with yourself and really reflect on these things, ask the hard questions, and fucking really just make difficult decisions and do hard things on a daily basis, then you'll never get the true definition of success that you want, because it'll always be hollow. See, men think trauma is a massive catastrophic event, but trauma is simply an event that changes your behavior. So trauma is an external event that changes how you behave. It is a psychological wound from an experience that you've had. For example, like neglect, abuse, unmet childhood needs, not being held enough as a child. All these things that you may think sound very stupid are childhood traumas. They're not catastrophic. They can be subtle, but they have an effect on your behavior. Whether you like it or not, it's true. And most of the people that don't admit to this, are in denial about it. The thing is, when it comes to trauma, you have to have a lot of humility and you have to have a lot of open-mindedness about it, because you must accept that it is a trauma. You then need to reflect on it. You need to figure out how to change your behaviour. And then you need to figure out the regulation tools that you can use in order to control and manage that behaviour and manage that trigger. And that's important. Something that I've done recently and still continue to do. And it's an ever long process. It never stops. But it will give you a lot more fulfillment and a lot more peace in your life, peace in your head as well. So it's a psychological wound from an experience that you've had. Therefore, what it can cause is health problems, chronic stress, which is, chronic stress in my opinion is the second biggest killer next to suicide for men. Stress kills men. If you take suicide out of the equation, I think personally the biggest killer of men is stress, chronic stress, 100%. No doubt. The reason for that, not for this podcast, but we'll talk about it at a different time. Every self-destructive behaviour that you have can be linked to a trauma. Because it just didn't fucking come from nowhere. It came from somewhere. There was an event or a moment in your life that changed your behaviour. For example, being bullied. For example, being told that you're not good enough. Being neglected by a parent. Passive comments built up over time from a parent. Passive comments from friends. Peer groups constantly chipping away at you over years. Being in environments that make you feel small. Those are traumas because they change your behaviour. So don't look at them as if they're nothing, because they are something. And it's a massive reason why a lot of people where I'm from are like clones of each other in terms of behaviour. There's a reason why the bars are packed every week and the gyms for the most part are empty. It's a behaviour pattern. It's a psychological wound. So why is this important? It's important because there's ignorance and there's distraction used to avoid these traumas. As I said before, the bars are packed every week. So what happens is, because men can't accept the fact that trauma is real, trauma is an event that changes your behaviour, they would rather distract themselves from it. And that can be in the form of discipline and work, as well as drinking and drugs. So a lot of people think that men distract themselves only with drinking drugs or porn. But it's not like that. It's not always like that. I distracted myself with drinking drugs for a while, but before that, I distracted myself with really, really hard work. Is that a bad thing? Probably not. It served me until it didn't. It served me until it didn't. So I want you to remember that, right? All these negative behaviours that you've maybe picked up, they only become negative when they no longer serve you. So for example, say you're very busy, you're a good coach, you're flat out, you learn a lot, you fucking push yourself to your limits, and you work constantly because you're trying to distract yourself from the wounds that you have. You're trying to distract yourself from the traumas that you may have had as a child, being bullied, whatever it may be. That makes up for it. And you end up reaching a really good point in your career. You're getting paid well, you've got loads of clients, but there's still an emptiness in you, there's still a pain in you, and it's numb and it's constantly there and you can't figure out why the fuck it's sitting there. So what do? You distract yourself further by drinking, taking drugs, you get into things that you shouldn't get into, and that's what happened to me. So why is this important? Because you need to understand that it's not always visible. It can look like a good thing from the outside, but I promise you, some of the most miserable men I know are the most disciplined. And that's hard to believe, but it's true. This is especially prevalent in the bodybuilding world. I meet a lot of bodybuilders who are really good at prepping their meals, really, really good at their sleep schedule. Their routine is sick, really good. That's the amazing thing about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is amazing for that, but they are miserable. They hate themselves. They fucking hate themselves. And that's just not good, you know? And they never will. They never will like themselves. So their version of success is being sub 5% body fat and winning the medal for getting on stage. Not having a family, not having time for your family, not, travel, not good relationships, good connections, good friendships. No, it's pure isolation. Pure isolation just for a medal to get on stage. That's not to say all bodybuilders are like that, because they're certainly not. They're certainly not, but there is a lot of them that do that. And I know that because I've been in that world and I've seen it. So I just want to close this one off with this reframe. So what should you do if you're in this situation and you don't feel successful and nothing's ever good enough? One, look at the 3 pillars: your physical health, your mental safety, and your healthy relationships. How good is your physical health? Are you looking after yourself? Are you really looking after yourself? Are you asking yourself the hard questions for your mental health? Are you working with a therapist? Are you working with a coach, a hypnotherapist, a CBT, whatever it may be? Are you looking at that? And then the third thing, relationships. Who are you listening to? Who are you consuming? Who are you surrounded by? And sit and ask yourself, where did this vision of success come from for me? Did it come from me or did it come from somebody else? So there's a good quote from Bruce Lee. He says, "A man is born to achieve great things if he can conquer himself." You are born to do great things, but the first thing that you should do is conquer yourself. And in order to do that, you have to ask yourself really uncomfortable, fucking hard, shitty questions. And you may not like the answers, as I said before, but they will bring your life to a whole new level. I promise you, you will feel at peace. It doesn't mean they'll take away all your problems. That's impossible. You need problems. Problems are very important. If we didn't have problems, life would just be pointless. Problems are the gateway to happiness, overcoming problems. But this problem is like a cancer, and it sits there for too long. It'll just eat away at you. So folks, that's the end of the first episode. The Alpha Blueprint is releasing late February. I would like to tell you all that I have a 5-minute, it'll only take you 5 minutes. The Alpha Audit is in my bio. Click on the bio, click on the Alpha Audit. Give me 5 minutes or so, take the test and see where you're at right now. This is the first step to facing your truth. It's uncomfortable and some of the questions are quite deep, but it will help you to achieve real peace if you really just take 5 minutes to fill it in. And I invite you to take it and let me know what you got. See you next one.